Started this truck up a few days ago and it seemed a little bit louder, and the cab was getting smogged out with fumes. There's a cast iron piece that goes from the manifold to the pipe right here, and I looked underneath that and it had a big hole in it about the size of a $50. Taking it off wasn't simple. It was just froze right on there, rusted right on solid. I had to finish breaking it to get it off. So that thing right there is going to take place of that old thing. I think this is going to be pretty cool. This is a whole set turbo off of a 855 cubic inch 400 Cummins engine. It's remanufactured. It's actually in really good shape. The 671 Detroit is only 426 cubic inch, which is roughly half of what the 855 is. But the 671 Detroit is a two-stroke, so it's firing on every hit. It's firing twice as much as the 855 is. The 855 is twice as big, but the 671 fires twice as many times. So I'm thinking that this turbo is going to be about right for that engine. Many people are going to say, well, you can't just put a turbo on a Detroit diesel. You're going to blow the seals out of the blower and they're not made for it. And some that are made for turbos have different compression ratios, different high bypass blowers and all that stuff, different blower seals. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to run about 500 pounds of boost and it's going to sound badass. I think this is the perfect application for it to go on. It's not going to cost much money to put it on. I pretty much have everything I need. I think it's going to have to sit somewheres up in here. I'm going to have to figure out where the oil lines are going to go. I think this down here, I'm sure if you could see it on the side of the block, I believe that's an oil return, and it shouldn't be hard at all to find a pressure. Actually, I know where there's a pressure on the other side that I took off for the oil cooler, so I could probably tap into that. The only worry that I have on this is a 400 Cummins is usually roughly around 50-60 pounds of oil pressure. A Detroit at full throttle is only like 30-40 pounds. It's not like I'm going cross country with it hauling 40 tons of logs or something. Got the turbo somewhat mocked up in place. Obviously it's not going to be like that. It's going to be kind of something like that. I'm going to run a 90 down into that right there. That gives me plenty of room to get the valve cover off. That's where I have to cut the hole for the manifold. I made this thing right here out of some heavy duty square tubing. This is gonna go, that's gonna get welded on there like that, and then there's gonna be another big pipe that goes up and goes into the turbo manifold, and I got an angle there. It's got to be closed up. This wood splitter thing came in pretty handy. Another catch-all, but at least I got a welding table now. Alright, I have all the pieces of the turbo manifold cut, ready to weld together. This is the part that bolts onto the manifold on the truck engine, and this is the turbo. I got it so the turbo sits nice and level so the oil will drain. So let's get this welded up. Well, everything to put the turbocharger on the manifold is assembled, but I'm just going to mock everything up right now. there she is. Everything fit pretty good. I'm gonna have to clock the center part different here where the oil bath is, which isn't a big deal at all. I'm gonna have to clock the compressor housing a little different to figure out what I gotta do for that. Hook up all the plumbing. I'm gonna clock the compressor housing in the center section, and I'm gonna put a little oil in the center section and do a test fire. That's gonna be sweet. That's what I'm talking about. That sounds freaking awesome. Well, here's all the parts that are pretty much everything's ready to bolt on. I made all the gaskets out of high temperature gasket material. I had a hose made for the pressure side. I made the drain pipes here out of steel. The hose just goes in the center just to connect them wherever they go. And this piece here I finished up. I put that on the belt sander to get it nice and flat so I don't have any problems with the gaskets blowing out. The work site right here prepped and everything's ready to go together. Well, it's almost there. Got the boost gauge in, got the turbo pressure side in. A little bit of a cobble job I had to do on that because supplies of things were limited, but it works. Nothing wrong with it. It's kind of a uniform bend. Got the ear cleaners on the other side. I gotta finish putting this downpipe on for the turbo. Pretty much ready to start. Of course, I have to put the fender on and get the lights and stuff hooked back up. Last thing I gotta do is, this thing used to be so loud, I actually made a baffle and put it in this exhaust. But with the turbocharger on it, I'm going to take that baffle out because that might be a little too much back pressure, I'm afraid. And the turbo will act like a muffler too, it'll quiet it down, so I probably won't need that. See if it makes 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of boost. See if I can have a crankshaft laying on the ground. moment we've all been waiting for. First actual startup of the finished product. Have everything all set. Took me a couple days to get this turbo downpipe clamped. It's kind of what the big holdup has been. This project took about 2.5 full days worth of work, and I mean from morning to into the night where I couldn't even see anymore. Let's get her started up and take it for a ride and see what happens. I just took this down the road a couple miles and got 2 loads of firewood with it. It ran really good. I had it under a full load, and under a full load it builds like 3-4 pounds of boost, if that. Like, you know, most of the time it's only like 2, which is perfect. Now I know I'm not going to damage my engine or anything. It's going to be more like a ram air intake than a turbo, but a little bit of positive pressure is probably better than a vacuum, I guess. You know what? It's really cool. It sounds awesome going down the road, and I think this was a successful thing. It looks pretty cool in there too. But I'm really happy. I can feel like a true big rigger now. This truck went from being a gutless gasser to having a diesel and now having a turbo. This truck's been a lot of work, but it's been a fun build. This truck's pretty much been built from ground up by the time it's said and done. There's been a lot of work into this thing.
End of transmission.